Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way. And this week we are going to move on to another one of the new releases. So this one also is released in July of 2019. It is the Mountain set, and we're going to use this one right here. So it comes in two sizes, and then next week we're going to tackle this one. So I'm going to spend a couple of weeks on this set because I love it so much, and it's really versatile. So super easy to do, and you know, I know a lot of you want to move on and do more complex things, more landscape and building these scenes, and I think these mountains are really going to help you do that. So I wanted to make sure they were simple, easy to use, and they are. So I know you're going to be successful with them. So we're going to go ahead and create this little scene. We're going to put a little house in the center and create a little area of trees in front of the mountains, and of course the flowers in the foreground. So super easy little composition to do, and actually it doesn't require very many stamps either, so that's also a plus. Okay, so we are going to use the mountain set. We're going to use the large one right here, and then the mini cottages set, we're going to use this one right here. The watercolor foliage set 3, so either one of these two, doesn't matter which one. And then in the tree set, we're going to use this one right here. And then in the mini flower set, we're going to use, you could use any of these, but we're going to use this one right here. And then in the foliage set, the little grasses right here, we're going to use that one. So let's get started. So we're going to start out with the basic image, and in this case that would be the mountain set. So I'm going to ink it in two colors. I'm going to start out by inking it in the brown. So this is the dark brown, the 969, and I'm just going to ink this all up here. And then I'm going to stamp it off. So I inked it with one color. I usually ink it with two colors and then stamp it off, but in this case I feel like this almost works better. So now I'm going to ink it in the dark blue. So this is the 565. And now I'm going to stamp that off. And now I'm going to stamp it into the background. So very lightly, we don't want this to be too dark. And that's probably the biggest thing with the mountains, is we don't want it to be too dark. They're going to kind of fade back into the background. And so we don't want those harsh lines. We want this to look as natural as we can. So I'm going to dip my brush in water and pinch it off. And I'm going to just start out where the lines are the heaviest and just kind of drag this down. And just take your time and work your way down. The more that you use these, and I found this with myself too, the more that I use them, the more comfortable I get with them and the way that the lines go. So just give yourself a little bit of time to kind of get comfortable with these. And just keep dragging the lines down. We don't want to see any harsh lines just end. So just keep bringing that down. Just keep making them softer and softer. You can make some other little lines in here too. And like I said, the more that you practice with these, the better at them you're going to be. And I think the happier you'll be with how they turn out. I really like this combination of colors. Now you can do these mountains in just the dark blue as well. So if you want them to be mostly snowy, try that one. In fact, I have a little sample here. You can see how blue these mountains are in the background. That's because I inked them just in that dark blue. And here it is. You can see the difference with this one, and actually I feel like this kind of warms it up a little bit, makes it a little more summer or springy. This one really makes those mountains tall and cool, so really snowy. So kind of play around with some different color combinations and, you know, see what you like. And maybe it depends on what area you live in. So really soften these lines. And you can see the mix of color coming out here. That brown and that blue. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and put some color into the background. And that would be some color into the sky. And just keep it light. Keep it light because you can always come back in and add more color. Stay away from those lines, the mountain lines, unless you really want that to bleed out. And we can actually go pretty dark back in here. Make a little more of a dramatic sky. Don't be afraid to add a little more color in here. You know, if you look at the mountains, you know, look at, you know, some mountains out your window, or, you know, look up some images of mountains and kind of see the colors that are in them and the way that the lines go. That will help you a ton too. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. Once we've got that done, so let's add our little house in here. We're going to use 2 colors on this, and because it's a wooden structure, we're going to start with the blue, the dark blue. We're going to ink this up, and then we're going to come back over it again with the brown, the dark brown. And then, of course, I'm going to stamp that off because it is way, way in the background, and I don't want to see a dark line. And you can see if we stamped it in here like that, see how dark those lines are? We're going to have a nice outline here in the background, and I don't think that looks natural. So we want it to be very, very light in the background. Okay, that looks pretty good. So the next step, of course, is to begin to pull the color out of the lines. Keep it very light. And this side here of this little house, little cabin, is going to be darker than this side. Always leave a highlight on the top of the roof. It's really important. And let's add some color now to this. So I'm going to add my dark brown to my palette. And I'm just going to take some of this color and just put it underneath this roof line here. And some of this color onto the roof. Try not to make it all the same. Try not to color everything in solid. Just let there be a little different color combinations on here. It's going to look so much more natural if you do that. And now I'm going to pick up some of this blue and just put that into my little windows. It's amazing the detail you can get with a number 4 brush. Now I would, if you have a number 1, get your number 1 out and use it, because it's going to be so much easier using a small brush. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to put just a little bit of blue up here and a little shadow under here. And, you know, just carefully drag a little of this color out. It's going to add a little more color and shadow to the structure. I just kind of like the effect of that. Not too much, but just a little bit. It kind of ages it a little bit and makes it look a little more rustic. Okay, so let's go on to the next step, and that's to add our little trees in the background. And we're going to do that. And if you look at this little tree, so this is the one from the tree set, and let me show you here. So it's actually this one. I think I said I used this one, but I actually used this one. It's pretty tall, so we don't need it to be that tall. So we're only going to use probably about 2/3 of it. We're just going to ink part of it, and we're going to walk it back. So I'm using my dark green. Oops, make sure this is stuck on here. And I'm using my dark green. So this is the number 249. This is a pine green. And I'm just going to stamp it next to that little cabin and work my way up. And you can see it looks like I've put this little cabin into a little valley. And now I'm just going to add a little water. to my trees, just a little tiny bit. We don't want to lose the integrity of the trees, but we want to soften the lines. We want to still see that they're fir trees or pine trees. And I can just pull a little of this color out and just kind of fade it back. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to come in now with my little tiny grass. I know you guys are familiar with this one. I think I use this in almost every project. And I'm just going to kind of walk it down like this. And in front of this little cabin. Dip my brush, pinch it off. And just soften that up. So you can see we've created this little valley here, little cabin, back in the trees. And I can pull some of this green now back into here, just adding a little more color back into where these mountains are. And I can just keep these lines coming down. You can see where these lines are. I'm just kind of extending them down a little bit more. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and do the foreground now. And I think I'll add just a little more green in here. This is that same pine green color. And now I can add my flowers into the foreground. So I'm just going to use, here's that little grass, and I'm just going to use a part of it again. So it's pretty long, so I don't need that whole thing. I'm just going to ink about half, and I'm going to kind of work it up and down. I want it to be shorter and longer, so it kind of looks like the ground is uneven, kind of out in a field. And you can kind of turn it a little bit. And really just do as much as you want. And then just kind of drag that color down. I don't want to see a really harsh line here because we want this to kind of fade out. Okay, so now we can put the little flowers in. These little guys, and I'm just starting out with a purple. So this is the number 636 purple. And this one too, I'm just kind of jumping up and down. And you can put all kinds of colors in here. And I think I will clean that off. Really clean it off good. I'm just using a little baby wipe to make sure I get all of that color out. And then I think I'll use something bright, like a red. So this is the number 885 red. And just put a little more in here like that. So you can use whatever flowers you want. There's so many that would work for this little project. And then clean off your brush and then go back in and do the red. And just jump your brush around. And just let this fade out into the background. And I think I'm going to come back in here now with my fine tip of my dark blue. So this is the number 565, the dark blue. And I'm just going to really darken in these areas where the windows are. And that looks pretty good. I think The only thing left to do is to sign and date. So try this project. I think you will love it. Come back next week. We're going to do more with the mountain set. And I appreciate you watching so much. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And I will see you guys all next week.